so happy that Mrs. Hodges is here. Mrs. Hodges, we're going to start with, how old are you?
I'm going to be, what am I going to be? 99. 100. November 1st.
100 in November 1st. That is the exact
All
age.
Saints Day.
All Saints Day. That's great. That is, tell us if there's a favorite town tradition that you have been a part of.
Oh, I think the Westwood Parade on Memorial Day has grown into be such a very interesting and fascinating thing. And each year it seems to get more and more people. And then the fact that we had Christopher Herbeck, he's really the star of the show every year. And it's kind of like every year we're memorializing him. And it's really something people look forward to.
Right.
And he was a grandson of mine, so.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that. So for people who are listening who don't know, Christopher Herbeck was killed in action in Afghanistan. Yes, and that was about 10 years ago? 9 years ago. And do you have a favorite business or restaurant in town?
I could get in trouble saying something like that.
It's okay, you're allowed to have preferences.
Where do I like to go? Of course, everybody loves to go to Conrad's because they remember going there as high schoolers, you know, after school or after the games and things on Friday nights.
When it was a real soda counter.
Yes. And some of the same things are there that were there when I was a teenager.
It's true.
Like the dishes and the atmosphere.
And the milkshake maker.
That's right.
Yeah, I've noticed that. Everyone at Conrad's, of course, is really lovely and participates in a lot of town
and
events.
they left Mr. and Mrs. Conrad, who had the ice cream parlor in Oradell, and came to Westwood, so that's where they belonged, was in Westwood.
Right. What was it like to be a young married person?
Well,
Westwood?
all the young married girls were all married to boys who were in service. When I was married in 1942, so all our boys were in. Most of the boys in Westwood that you went to school with were all serving one way or the other, the Army, the Navy, or wherever in service. So there was one time, communications weren't as easy back then. It was 9 months that I didn't hear from Don at all. He was in the Mediterranean. So that's the way it was.
What did you do while he was in service?
Well, I am a registered nurse, and I was working at Letterly Laboratories in Pearl River, New York, which is really industrial nursing. And I was like the third nurse that was hired by them. And when I went, there were 3 of us, and when I left, I had 7 girls under my so-called command. So I was here a good 25 years and enjoyed every day of it. And it was like they experimented on the horses and for diphtheria vaccinations.
Oh.
So when you would go up Middletown Road in Pearl River, they were always in the front of the place. The buildings were in the background. There were always horses out because they were always experimenting on horses for diphtheria.
And so the diphtheria vaccine development was important for the servicemen who were going.
Oh yes, it
overseas.
was an important place. There were so many towns in the area where the young people were employed. And I can remember working there for a summer because I hadn't reached the age that I should to go into nurses training. And right now I do. I still am nursing, and I work for the borough of Emerson. Because by law, each town has to have a functioning health department.
Okay, so that is a really interesting long transition.
Yes, it is.
And so what do you do with the health department in Emerson?
Well, you run like a first aid station for for any of the employees there, and you do physicals on the people that are employed by the health department. So it's only a one-day-a-week job, and it's like a one-day-a-week job in every community in New Jersey. So
That's really
I think
great.
they follow the law, and they have to have a nurse, so they have a nurse.
I love how active you are at nearly 100 years old, and I want to know what exciting plans you have for the summer.
Well, I work during the summer too, so that isn't any different.
Well, that's one day a week. What are you going to do the other 6?
There's always something to do. I have several grandchildren, and they kind of keep me busy a little bit too. I do things with their mothers and their children, so it's a fun and games kind of thing.
Great. What else would you like to tell us about your life in Westwood?
Well, I think Westwood is the community to live in. It is the hub of Pascack Valley, and always has been. And over the years, it's gotten bigger and better. There are always so many things going on in Westwood, and I think Westwood people kind of throw out an invitation to anybody else who's interested in being a part of a town. So when people move to Westwood, they usually are picked up by somebody to join one of the organizations in town.
I can attest
to
to that.
become active, okay?